Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of In the Prog Seat. Yes, it's Tuesday night, and yes, Pete is in a different room in the house. So I am downstairs in the kitchen/dining room, along with 8 other gentlemen here. We've got in the house tonight. I'm going to start at the top. We got George, Lamie, Louis, Nasser. The 2 Chicago guys are flanking me to the left and right. We've got down below Eric Porter, my upstate New York friend. We've got Chuck Alvarez from the Bronx. Right in the middle, our center square tonight, we've got Armando Venditti from Canada.
Hello.
We've got all the way from Scotland, Stephen Reid. We've got all the way from deep, dark New Jersey, the Doctor of Prog, Ken Golden. And from Pennsylvania, Mr. Anthony Ferraro. How's everybody doing tonight? Greetings.
Greetings, everyone.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
So we have landed tonight on 1978. A pretty good year by music standards across the board. A pretty great year by music standards across the board. And an even, I'd say, a even better year for some prog and fusion albums. So we've asked everybody to kind of take a look at all the releases that came out in 1978 and pick your 5 favorite prog rock and fusion or both releases. This is kind of before progressive metal, so we're probably looking at mostly prog and fusion here. And if folks can have some honorable mentions at the end, we can throw those out. But for now, we're going to do our top 5. We'll start off at number 5. We'll work our way round and round and round and round to our number 1, and we're going to go in the same exact order that I just listed everybody. So we're going to go George, Louis, Eric, Chuck, Armando, Stephen, Ken, and Mindy, and Anthony, and then myself, and then we'll go around and around till we get to number 1. So, Mr. Lamie, killer songs, no softies. What do you got tonight for number 5?
This one's kind of obscure. Guadalcavir, self-titled. This is a band from Spain. They're supposedly part of a genre called Andalusian rock, which is a melding of symphonic prog and flamenco. To me, it's Latin fusion. I don't know. It's the differentiation there. I don't get. I don't hear a lot of symphonic prog in this, but it's very good. Double guitars, which is kind of unusual for a fusion outfit. Sax, drums, bass. It's they only did a couple more, but they don't approach this one. This is just real strong Latin influenced. The heavy flamenco in parts. So if you like flamenco, definitely Guadalcavir, self-titled.
Cool.
Nice.
George, I think we need to talk to David, our t-shirt guy, and say, and we need a new t-shirt that says George Lamie. This one's kind of obscure. ...
or like a 1 and
That would work, yeah.
That'd be
Something
good.
like that. Something like that.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go cross town. Louis Nasser.
All right. So for me, for that year, my number 5, it really is a tie between 2 that are equally. One of them I can't show. The other one is Banco di Terra.
Nice.
This is a phenomenon. It's all instrumental. It doesn't have, any vocals, but it is a magnificent record.
It really is.
The one I can't show because I couldn't find it anywhere is one of my favorite records by the Muffins. It's called Mirage.
Nice.
I love that record, but I can't find it. I don't know if I lost it or if I just never had it and I just heard somebody else's copy. But those 2.
Very cool. It was a tie for number 5. I know another person that does that all the time. All right, we'll let our Yankee fan go next.
Yeah, bad week. My number 5, this one was tough. I hear you guys talk about this a lot where I feel like I've got 3 or 4. I think my top 4 were solid, but my 5th one, I was kind of going back and forth. But I guess I'll go with Captain Obvious, and I'm going to go with Steve Hackett.
Beautiful.
Please Don't Touch. And this one, it's not my favorite Steve Hackett record, but it's very eclectic. He's really across the board. There's pop stuff, there's acoustic, and he's got Steve Walsh singing on a couple songs, and Richie Havens, which you wouldn't think would work, but it works fantastic on this. Especially Icarus Ascending, which has this really menacing verse, and then it kind of explodes, kind of a tension and release to just a really uplifting chorus. It's a great record. There's not a ton of solos on this record either. I mean, it's really more song oriented, I think. But again, having Steve Walsh, I think Walsh does a great job on the two songs he sings on.
Randy
Chester
Crawford.
Thompson plays drums. My buddy Tom Fowler's on bass. And, it's this was his first post-Genesis, I believe, because Voyage came out when he was still a member of Genesis. So that's my number 5.
That was an album where he was, I think, trying to show what he could do outside of Genesis. It's like, look at me, I could write songs. So he presented like a variety of styles. It's a good album.
Well,
Yeah, it's hard to call it progressive because it's kind of all over the map.
Well, most of the songs were actually written while he was in Genesis, and he actually wanted how can I, and the song that Randy Crawford sung on. He actually wanted someone else to sing those songs, to give Phil a break, and they shouted it down. But it's still a great album. Matter of fact, it came up about this time in 1978.
In 78, right. And then that kind of the trilogy there, I know it's Please Don't Touch, but it's, I think, Land of a Thousand Autumns, and they all kind of run together. And then he redid that with GTR and called it Hackett to Bits.
Oh, I like it.
But he's always had that. That's kind of been a mainstay in his live show too. So he's used, that song he's kept for years in his live show. But
Nice.
I don't know how many of you guys remember when Hackett played Nearfest, when he was talking about meeting with John Entwistle, because he had just recently died.
Yeah.
And how in their conversation, they were both actually mentioning that fact. Like Chuck said, that Entwistle had a lot of songs he had written for The Who, but he couldn't get them on the records because Daltrey wanted to sing them, but Entwistle wanted to sing his own songs. And that's how he started doing all these solo records. But he never actually busted out of the group. He just stayed. But Hackett eventually just said, well, I'm going to do my own thing. But that seems to be a common problem some people have,
It's a shame though, because Heaven and Hell on the Live at Leeds is an amazing track.
Oh, I love that
Right?
song.
And they should have invested more time in letting him do his stuff, right? Because it's more of a group situation when that happens, I think. Right?
Yeah, it's hard, but
It seems like
Doesn't Entwistle sing Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde?
yeah.
Did he? Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, he did.
That's one of my favorite Who tunes.
He's great. He was a great guy. I had the opportunity to meet him, but I remember Hackett talking about it at the Nearfest, and it was a really, he made a really nice eulogy for his friend from the stage. It was nice.
Please Don't Touch was like the album he wanted to get out of his system.
Yeah.
Good thing he did.
And then he
Good.
kind of went on back onto, the Prague trip.
All right, our center square.
All right. So once again, gentlemen, my number 5 is Pieces of 8 from Styx. What's it that I just love this album. What's it that it could be you could call whatever you want and so, but there's a lot of plug flourishes here, man. Especially when it goes to Pieces of 8 and Aku. Just a wonderful album, man. I love this album. This is my number 5. Styx, Pieces of 8.
I will say, Chuck, that automatically went into my top 5 when I was putting my list together, but I said, God, I talk about Styx so much on this channel. That's like my honorary pick, so I left it off. But yeah, I love it. I mean, there's plenty of prog on there, certainly. There's plenty of just good arena rock, and it's great. So everybody watching, yes, it would have been on my list. I decided to give Styx a little break tonight, but I'm glad you had it on yours. So
All right.
All right, so our Canadian friend who just celebrated Thanksgiving, how's your Thanksgiving hangover, Armando? You all right?
I'm turkeyed out.
All right, I hear you.
No more frickin' turkey, man. I do not want to even, I don't even want to smell it. Nothing. I'm done. I can't stand it after a while. Like one night is fine. Otherwise, forget it. But we're good. We're doing good. My number 5 is Alan Parsons' Project Pyramid.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Coming off the heels of
Beautiful.
of iRobot and Tales of Fear and Imagination before that, which is amazing. I have the other two also. But yeah, good album, you know, starts off with Voyager, goes into What Goes Up. You know, there's like a 3-song suite, you know, at the start of the album, and side 2 starts off with In the Lap of the Gods, the instrumental. Not to be confused with the Queen track, but yeah, that's my number 5.
Good choice.
Fantastic.
Good choice. Can't go wrong with classic Alan Parsons.
Mhm.
All right, Stephen, you are up.
Well, I mean, 78 was a great year for music, a great year for prog. And I looked at my list once I'd put it together and thought, there's an argument for 4 of these not really being prog. So I'll start with one that is, and then it's all downhill from there. Okay.
Okay, I guess you got to figure who that is.
Okay, so, well, and arguably later on they weren't prog, but I'll start with Saga. That's what I'll start with. So probably at their most proggiest, which is not a word. But that's a great album. This Silent Night probably is as prog as they get. I love the keyboards. The keyboards dominate this album.
The guitars.
It's just superb. I mean, how long? Just the introduction to that. What a way to start an album. What a way to introduce a band. You know, so yeah. The debut album from Saga, back to front, ice nice, humble stance, climbing the ladder, love it. It's just a great album. That's my number 5.
That's
And
probably
Stephen,
fantastic.
Ian
Probably
Crichton
this too, right?
is,
Sorry, I missed that.
I think Crichton is so underrated as a guitar player.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah,
He's
awesome.
absolutely fantastic.
yeah, very much so. I think they're just underrated as a band in general.
Mike Sadler, his vocals are outstanding, and he still has it.
Over the top, just his ability still.
I think their growth is interesting as well, because they do start off, this is maybe the only album where you can kind of hear more prog rock kind of influences and sounds. You can kind of hear whispers of Genesis and Crimson in there, but they very quickly evolve into something else entirely. And that works for some people, doesn't for others. It does for me, I have to say. I like most of the catalogue, not quite all of it.
I think that goes with any band, really. I mean, and one of their musical influences was Gentle Giant. You know, so.
Although they were
Ken will agree with you. He loves the Saga catalog, right, Ken?
Me, I like the first 3 albums. I'm down with the first 3. After that,
Not so much.
that's all.
Talk about Worlds Apart. That was the pinnacle for them in the States, man. That was just
It was the only pinnacle, unfortunately. But
unfortunately, yeah.
They really couldn't get arrested down here. I don't understand why they didn't come down and tour more often.
Well,
I guess demand.
when they did tour here, you know, it's not like people cared, and that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, no real presence over here either. I mean, Europe was where they had their success. Germany, Holland.
Germany, Australia,
Puerto Rico. My
Puerto
wife has
Rico.
cousins that went to see them in Puerto Rico a few times.
Really?
Isn't it strange that a band like that, the Canadian band, they have this huge fan base in Germany,
Yeah.
but
It's the
anywhere
same
else
with
they
the-
can't get arrested.
can't get arrested.
It's the same with the Tea Party in Australia. They're huge in Australia.
Yeah.
Go figure. All right, Ken, you're number 5.
All right, 78, great year. Kind of like when we did that 74 show. This was like Sophie's choice for me, not because I have such a long list of honorable mentions, and I did a last minute switch on my number 5. So, because I think I would have gotten reamed out if I would have gone with my other number 5. So I'll make it my first honorable mention. All right, so my number 5, Eloy Live.
Oh, nice.
So I don't think it's much of a cop out picking a live album. It came out in 75, was recorded on the German tour in 78. At the time, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm sure in the comments somebody could follow up with this, I think Eloy was the biggest selling German act. My understanding was they were selling over 100,000 copies in Germany alone for albums like Ocean and Silent Cries. So it's a very, very good overview from their entire catalog. Well, I shouldn't say, because the first album they disowned. and for some reason they skipped Floating, but there's something from all the other albums. It's just better versions of everything that they did in the studio. And the real standout is the drummer, Jürgen Rosenthal. He's just like this.
Oh, he's outstanding.
Oh, he's just a monster on this
Mhm.
record. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of goofing about this last time when I was talking about Eloy. There's a 20-minute version of Atlantis' Agony at June 5th, 8498, 13 p.m. Gregorian Earth time. So, yeah, great album title. But yeah, like I said, there was so many albums I could have picked for my fifth, and I just love this album. And it was actually kind of an afterthought. I had left it off my list completely, and then I realized I was talking to a friend. They said, what about Eloy Live? And I'm like, oh yeah, that was 78. So there you go. That's my pick.
Nice.
So they were probably outselling. They were probably the #1 selling act in Germany at the time, and outselling the Scorpions because of wonderful album covers like Virgin Killer and Taken by Force and all that.
Yeah.
Oh my
Sure didn't
God.
happen, right?
But, I mean, I'll give the big reveal. Scorpions was my number 5 pick. And yeah, Tokyo Tapes.
Mhm.
I'll talk about it. I'll talk about
Killer
it.
album. Killer album.
Yeah.
Killer album.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot you could say about that album. So, and maybe we will. So maybe somebody else picked it.
Tonight's
Yeah,
young.
I didn't think to pick live albums because I don't know, I'm just stuck in the studio route. But yeah, no, that's valid. It's 78.
The thing like the Eloy Live album, I think they do a better version of the material. It's their best. It's some of their best material. And they do a better version than the studio version, I think. So, because just the energy from this album is just fantastic.
Yeah. All right, Anthony, what do you got?
Now I've had that in my collection for so long. Now I got to go back and pull it out and listen to it. Good job, Ken.
Thank you.
All right, my number 5 from 1978. A certain guitar player had just left, and then there were 3. This album, the production, even minus Hackett, is still kind of dark and very. It's a fall record for me. Snowblind. Oh boy. Many Too Many, Deep in the Motherlode, Scenes from a Night's Dream. I could go on and on. This album is fantastic from 1978, right after Hackett left. The first album without Steven. We all know who went on tour, Chester Thompson and Daryl Sturmer. So I'm going with And Then There Were 3 from 1978.
Nice.
Do I have a serious case of the olds, or is Anthony's video like in slow motion?
Yeah, it's like
It's in slow motion.
Yeah, he's a little. I think that's just Anthony.
Yeah, tonight Anthony is pixelated.
No, he's in slow motion.
Okay.
Well, he's coming live from
Everybody's like in
1978.
slow motion with me, for me.
No, everyone else is fine, but
That was hilarious.
Your
Yeah,
audio
he
sounds
said-
great. Yeah, it's weird. This is like
Yeah, he's on a cine reel.
That's right.
yeah, it's just the feed for some reason.
I guess.
So raise
Oh,
your
I can
hand if
see
you saw
that.
Genesis.
I can see that.
I think 78, Ken. I did not.
I saw them many times in 78. I saw him, Pete, I saw him up your way. I saw him at SUNY in Rockland County Community College.
Wow. Okay.
They
Cool.
played Rockland County Community College.
Wow.
It was one of the first shows they did. Probably held about 3,000 people or so.
That's.
And then they, of course, they came back to they played the Garden and, everywhere else. But
Yeah.
I saw him many times on that tour.
Cool. All right. So my number 5. So I decided not to pick live albums for mine, only because as I started putting my list together, I noticed like I had 3 or 4 live albums in there. I'm like, oh, we could do a whole separate show just on live albums. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave. And there's some great live albums from 78.
Oh, yeah.
So I decided to leave them off, but I love them. And, we'll talk about them at the end. But my number 5, I had to go with the Pat Metheny group,
Nice.
self-titled.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this is the original lineup with Pat Metheny on guitars, Lyle Mays on keyboards, Mark Egan on bass, Danny Gottlieb on drums. I just absolutely love this album, followed by American Garage shortly thereafter. It doesn't get more kind of jazz fusion Americana than this. It's just really calming music, but yet, the musical song structures are just absolutely intense on here. And just great music. There's no other band that sounds like these guys.
No.
Right.
Then or since, and just absolutely brilliant, just really engaging music that I just love so much, and it's just so unique. So that's my number 5, Pat Metheny Group.
That was the band I saw open for Brand X.
Really?
Oh,
Wow.
My father, my
That
father's
was a
place.
double bill.
And my thought at the time was, who the fuck are these guys? Sure, I never heard of them. They were good. They were
Yeah.
good.
I would have loved to have seen that lineup.
They were
That
the
would have been a
opener
hell of a
for
double
Brand
bill.
X.
Mhm.
Yeah. 2 very different bands though, because these guys weren't like burners,
No.
where Brand X were very fiery. These guys were more just kind of like in the pocket, laid back, and
Laid back, yeah.
palettes and colors and all that sort of thing. And
Metheny's tone is so different from like Good Soul, It's like
yeah. I'm going to be seeing Metheny next month for the first time ever
Nice.
up in Troy.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll see you there, Pete.
You going?
I'm going.
Absolutely. We should go have a beer up beforehand.
Browns.
Yes. I like Browns. Good place.
Okay.
Got it. Sounds good.
He's coming out with a
Awesome.
new album in October,
Yeah, it's coming out soon. Yeah, I think at the end of the month, right?
Yep.
22nd.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
I-
have it pre-ordered naturally.
I got a lot of mileage during the pandemic out of America Undefined.
Mhm.
I think
Love
that's
that
such a
album.
beautiful
We
album.
spoke
It's
about
such a beautiful
It
album.
really is. Mhm.
Yeah.
I listed
Yeah,
that
I
as
have
one of my
that as
top
well.
10. Mhm.
Yeah, he's just a great artist. Awesome. All right, George, back to you.
All right. My number 4 is from Japan. Band called Space Circus,
Nice.
Funky Caravan.
I like that album cover.
That's cool.
Where do you find these, George? I'm sorry.
George is the man.
Anywhere and
I'm taking notes.
everywhere.
I'm sorry. I'll shut up. I apologize. I should.
Standard quartet, Jap fusion. Obviously, as the title implies, a good amount of funky bits.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it was one of only 2 records before they went away, but especially the closer, the opener and the closer, Alibaba and Spring Wave, just hard hitting funk fusion stuff. Highly recommended, but good luck finding it. Space Circus, and you can tell where they got the name, I'm sure, if you know.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. I was just about to say that they're very much like RTF, man. What's like that? Like I would say, like the how you where we know each other from, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that era.
Did they do anything? Did any of those guys do anything else?
Not to my knowledge.
Mhm.
Those are 2 good albums.
I need to hear that. That sounds like a must.
Well,
You would
You'll like it. You'll like it.
Like them. They were good.
I'm taking notes. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you for that one, George. Man, you have become like the Ryan Scow of the Hudson Valley Squares, who every week is going to throw out a whole bunch of really obscure extreme metal albums. George is the master of the extreme fusion releases.
Yes, and they're all gems.
I keep thinking, where the fuck does he find all this stuff? I mean, like, it's like, holy shit.
Finds half of them in Japan.
My God, I tip my hat to you, George. I mean, geez. Good Lord. I mean,
Great stuff.
All right, Lewis.
Well, for my number 4, I gotta go with a guy called Dave Stewart, and songs like The Bride and Two-Step for Amphibians, Part 1 and 2,
Mhm.
and Dreams Wide Awake, Binoculars, Phylacaton. Of course, I'm talking about
National Health.
of Cues and Cures.
Mhm.
Just
thank you,
just
Anthony.
superb.
there is every track in this one is a must, right? It's just the perfect record for my taste. I love it. National Health.
I call it the greatest Canterbury record of all time.
I love it. That's all I can say. It's great. I mean, there's other good ones, of course, but
If it's not number
It's
one,
not as good as
top
Elias'
five.
Sun Hello, but it's close.
Oh Lord, there we go.
all
There
right,
we
man.
go.
Here, we're gonna have a new rule. Every time you mention that, whenever I see you in person, you're getting a Mexican Aztec style wedgie.
Oh,
It's
shit.
non-negotiable, and I already have a tab. So you best come oiled and ready.
That must be a pretty long tab. This has been going on forever, right?
I have the memory of an elephant when it comes to shit like this.
I want to be there when that happens. Oh man.
I want pictures.
I'm gonna film
I
it.
don't.
And video. So, film at 11, you know.
Oh, the visual. Oh, gee.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Eric,
kill the visual
back to you.
juices, kill the visual.
So my next one, I've seen your shows on bad album covers. So even though this is in the top 5 of 1978, this is not in the top 5 of album covers. It's Al Di Meola's Casino.
Oh gosh. How cheesy, man.
And I mean, I love his playing, the articulation, the picking. It's almost like his guitar is here. You're hearing the picking in this ear, and then this ear is getting what comes from the amp. It's just so, he's not heavily saturated, but he just plays so clean and precise. And this record, you know, in reading about him and obviously getting hired to play with Return to Forever when he was, whatever, 19, I think, was that it, 19 or 20?
Okay.
As great a player as he was, who knew if he could be that good of a writer? But those first 2 tracks are phenomenal. They rock. And then I think he's got that acoustic suite for 2 guitars or whatever that one. His playing is just amazing, and it's Steve Gadd, and I know George always throws us in Anthony Jackson on bass. Great band, and I just, you know, I don't know what else to say about him. He's absolutely amazing on those early records. Are just incredible from him.
Nice stretch of great albums.
Oh yeah. And in defense of Al, as kind of cheesy as that album cover is, I think a guy named Yngwie Malmsteen beat him as far as like horrible. Look at making album covers one after
Rising
another,
Force.
after another, after another, after another. So I forgive Al for that one. Then of course he released Splendido Hotel, which is even worse in my opinion as far as album cover goes.
He put out an album a few years ago with an album cover where he was shirtless.
Oh, that's wrong.
Wasn't it from the shoulders up or something? That he was shirtless, and you don't see everything, thank God. So.
It's okay.
All right, Chuck. Back to our subject there.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna my number 4 is from another art rock band, UK City Boys, Book Early.
Nice.
You know, I love this band, and you know how much I feel about Mike Slammer as a guitarist, man. What's it just like a harder version of 10cc, not as symphonic sounding as Queen, but you know, they're in that vein. And you know, this is just killer stuff from here. Everything from 5705, which was a minor hit here in the city, I mean actually in this country. You know, Cigarettes is a burner. You know, What a Night is a beautiful poppy track, track, and so Beth. You know, The World is a Dancer. Beautiful song, man. Beautiful album, man. Book Early, City Boy.
Great album, great band.
It's a great album. Yeah.
Mike Slammer. Is that Mike Slammer who played in Streets?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Never heard of it.
Very talented band. He's so talented, Mike Slammer. Really great
Really
guitar
is,
player and a great songwriter too.
Great songwriter.
Yeah. That's what he's known for now, is for his songwriting.
Yeah. Yep.
Some of his later solo stuff's good as well.
Yeah. All right, Armando, back to you.
Number 4, Styx, Pieces of 8. We're gonna overlap, guys. Get used to it. It's gonna happen. You know, Blue Collar Man, The Message. You know, Aiku. I mean, good album. Not, you know, I mean,
Look at that picture disc.
not my favorite, but a very good album. Hello. It's like, there you go. So yeah, no, I mean, it's a good album. Yeah, Pieces of 8.
All right.
Stephen, you show that Armando's
Queen
eyes.
of Spades.
Man, that bank account is going to continue to dwindle. Damn it.
Bloody hell. Oh my God.
Well, it's actually my number 4 as well. Okay. But the problem is, I've clearly never heard it because I took this out today. Okay. And I read the little card on the front and it says, "This is a numbered limited edition collector's record of the Styx Pieces of 8 album. These records do not have sound quality equal to conventional records." In other words, this is a piece of garbage. Thankfully, it's not the only copy I have.
Good, good,
For
good.
showing off.
They made picture discs of Frampton Comes Alive, and you could hear the sound change as the stylus would cross his face.
Wow. Wow, that's bad.
That's
And
the
yet
only-
they
that's
charge an
only
arm and a
for
leg for
collection.
them.
It
It's
must
only
have been
for
sore for him, was it not? No.
But they charge so much for the picture discs, right? And the quality isn't that great. So like, what's the point?
Absolutely. But anyway, it's a great album. I mean, Great White Hope, Sing for the Day, Blue Collar Man, Renegade, the title track. Some people will tell you they're not prog, so Aku Aku, it's a bit of Pink Floyd at the end of the album as well. So yeah, I mean, I love Styx in general. They're right at their peak here in about this era. Pieces of Eight, fantastic.
Yeah, those are for serious collectors, and for someone like Ken Golden, it's a good thing that the curse is real, folks.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Ken's turn. Go ahead. There you go.
Oh, okay. My number 4 from Spain, Gotique Escenas.
Oh,
Oh,
Wow.
so you guys know Gotique?
yes.
Heard of them? Never listened to it.
Never heard of them.
Well, they were always considered a one and done band, except that a few years ago, an unreleased second album came out that was also good. They were basically an instrumental prog band that sounded just like Camel during the Snow Goose period. A lot of flute, keyboards were Hammond organ, synthesizer, a lot of electric piano. Guitar was kind of secondary, long tracks. Had this beautiful, come on, Ken. Had this beautiful cover.
Oh my Lord. Hold that up closer, Ken. Jeez, look at that. Oh,
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's just a magnificent album. And in my opinion, this one's the best album from Spain, the best prog album from Spain. And Spain was kind of weird because the whole Spanish prog scene really started late, like around 75 or so. There was stuff before, but they tended to be more like hard rock, psych, stuff like that. But once we got into serious prog stuff like Granada, Gotique, and Bloqueux, and all these, they all started around 75 or so. And it's kind of like almost like the Eastern European bands, where they all kind of got a late start on the whole scene. So, but this is one of the greats, and you have to have it in your collection. It's a magnificent album.
show of hands. Who's going to be searching? Show of hands. Who's going to be searching for that as soon as we get off the air?
No, I mean, and the thing, the thing is also with a lot of the Spanish bands, you get kind of like a folk or Mediterranean influence. They were a Catalan band, but they didn't really have that. I mean, it's just Camel all the way. I mean, it was almost like the album was written with tracing paper. It's great. It's really good.
I thought it was a Camel ripoff when I heard it in Mexico, and I dismissed it.
Wow.
I love it.
But I didn't really give it a fair shot. I just thought these guys are just blatantly ripping off Camel.
Yeah, they are.
My reaction.
Yeah,
You know? Okay.
Luis, you fucked up, man. You should have bought it.
I know. The litany of failure is long and detailed.
Well, I'm keeping track also.
I know.
So,
I'll be placing an order. Let's see if you stock it, Mr.
It has been out on CD. I don't think it's in print anymore.
Okay.
But it's there. I'm sure it's one of those albums
You
you can find
gotta
on
keep it down.
Check Discogs.
Yeah, Discogs. You'll find a copy. It came out. I know it came out in Japan. It came out in Spain. And if you could get their second album, it was I guess rejected by the label, by Movie Play. I think it was from like 79 or 80. It's also very, very good. It was kind of shocking when it came out because at first everybody thought it was like they regrouped or something like that. And no, it was an old album, and it's quite nice.
Ken, how would you
All right.
compare those guys to, was it Canarios?
Canarios is a little different, I think. Canarios was more bombastic,
And the Canarios sounded more like an Italian band to me.
Yeah. And Canarios almost, had that female soprano. That was almost like had a bit of more of a classical feel to it.
Like a Renaissance.
Yeah, it's hard to describe. I don't know, Canarios. That was, what's his name, the composer. Bautista was the composer. He was the guy behind Canarios. And it's the four seasons.
Mhm.
He does basically his Prog interpretation of Vivaldi's Four Seasons.
Yeah, Ciclos. Yeah.
Yeah, different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
But yeah. You need to own this, guys.
Yeah.
This is a monster album.
All right.
Monster album.
Sold. All right.
Eventually sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, track it down. You want it.
Anthony, what do you got?
My number 4 from 1978, the Dr. Prog, saw him at Madison Square Garden opening up for ELO. Steve Hillage, Green from 1978, produced by Nick Mason, Pink Floyd fame. Typical Hillage, very spacey. Some of the standout tracks are Sea Nature is one of my favorites. He just used the glissando guitar in this. It's just awesome. His girlfriend, Miquette, plays keyboard. She does outstanding. For the Green Tour, Clyde Bunker from Jethro Tull was on drums, so that would have been cool to see. But I'm going with Steve Hillage, Green from 1978, a Nick Mason production.
Nice.
Excellent.
Good album.
God, I got brain farts.
Don't send him this way. Don't send him this way.
It's even funnier when you say it in slow motion.
Should I reboot and try it again, or
That?
Oh, what?
should I reboot?
No, you were kind of doing it last week too. I don't know what it is. You may want to check. I don't know.
His router
think
probably
it
might
just-
need to- might
I
need
think
to
it
do
could
the
be
same
just
thing you
your
did.
feed, Anthony, just the video feed that comes in.
Yeah, sometimes it's internet connection
All right.
or something like that. So
Or it's Ken's fault.
Everything else is, might be, that's what we
Stop paying the bills.
Uh-oh.
right, right. All right, my number 4 is a U.S. band. This is one of the great underground prog albums in U.S. progressive rock history. The band is called Cathedral, not to be confused with the UK doom band Stained Glass Stories.
Mhm.
Man, if you don't own this and you love 70s symphonic prog rock in the vein of early King Crimson, early Genesis, a little bit of Yes, a little Gentle Giant, that's what you get here.
Mhm.
Loads of Mellotron and Hammond organ and loopy guitar licks and high-pitched vocals and long songs. I can't say nothing. Moog Taurus bass pedals, the whole shebang. Really cool, long songs. This is just an absolute gem. Originally released on Greg Walker's symphonic label. I don't even know if this is still in print or if you can get this, but I bought this in the very early 90s, and it's been one of my favorites of this era, as far as U.S. prog goes, because there wasn't a lot of U.S. prog bands at the time. So Stained Glass Stories from Cathedral.
Nice.
I never got to see them.
No?
I used to go see a lot of the Long Island bands. There were a lot of Long Island cover bands. So, but for some reason, because I think they used to do covers and originals. But for whatever reason, I just never.
Yeah, they weren't around. They weren't around too long. They're very.
I
No,
looked
Tom-
it up. It's out of print.
Tom Doncourt from that band, the keyboard player,
passed away.
passed away recently.
Oh, really?
Matthias Olsen, who's my buddy and who everybody knows from Prague, he was working on an album with him that was released not too long ago. It's very different from the one you held up, but it's a pretty good record too.
Cool. Awesome.
And these originals go for a fortune now. I got lucky. I got one in a collection about a year ago. And,
Wow, nice.
very hard to find.
Yeah.
But
There's the guys in the band right there. Use the glare, but
Greg CD, if you could get Greg CD, it sounds really good.
it does. Yeah, it does.
They did a very good job. I think Bob Katz did the mastering.
I believe you are right, Ken.
Nice.
Yeah, this is good stuff. This is a gem. So, all right, back to George.
Number 3 has been called already. From New Jersey, Al Di Meola, Casino. Like Eric said, it's a great record. The Gad Jackson rhythm section. Barry Miles on keyboards. Al had played live with him a little bit. Not quite as good as Elegant Gypsy, I don't think. Minor issues, I don't like that he slowed down Senior Mouse. I don't think that was a good idea. And Casino's not as good an epic as Elegant Gypsy Suite, but other than that, I mean, it's really intense period piece for a 70s fusion. Must have.
Yeah.
George, would you say out of his first 3 solo albums, you rank that? How do you rank that one out of the first 3?
Second. Gypsy, then that, and then the first one.
Okay.
Same.
I guess I need Casino then, huh?
Oh,
Yes.
You do.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say all those, the first 5.
But yeah.
maybe.
5. Yeah, 5.
They're coming. They're on their way.
Armando's already on it.
I was on it on Saturday night.
The live album he released in the 80s.
I ordered it, man.
So short.
It is, yeah, it is. That's one of those great live albums that should have been a double. It should have been a full length single. It should have been.
You've got better options, Mr. Boot. Trust me. There's a lot of good Al shows out there.
Oh yeah.
Big shows.
Cool. All right, Lewis, back to you.
My number 3 is gonna go to Steve Morrison and Dixie Dregs. What If?
Sorry, is it
Absolutely
3 or
love
4?
this record. I mean, this is the number 3,
Sorry.
right?
3?
Yeah.
3?
3. Sorry, I can't count. Odyssey,
Gold.
What If, Night Meets Light, take it off the top. I mean, this is perfect, right? It's a great band with Andy West on bass, and Rod Morgenstein, of course, playing drums. It's just such a great record. Even like the country tune, which is not really my jam. It's actually well done, So I mean, it just maybe it's cultural, but for me, it's like Mexican norteñas. It doesn't work for me either. It's like that band. It's just like repellent. But then I get past it, and it's all good. And this is one of my favorites by them. Dixie Dregs, What If? Yeah,
Nice.
Classic.
Luis, if you come to the planet Sun Hillo, they'll teach you how to count.
Uh-oh.
that's too. I'm starting to think that's your kink. You like it? I'm gonna have to change the punishment.
Okay, this is a respectable show, guys. Let's keep it clean.
When he heard that people wanted it filmed, he was in.
Right.
Come on, Steven, stick up for me. Is Elias Sun Hillo, is that a killer record or is that a killer record?
I know
Louis,
I already know
think
what's getting stuck up for
Louis,
you.
now we know
record.
what's going on in that room behind him.
I don't know, but as soon as this is over, the GIMP is coming out. This I know.
Elias and Hillo is a good record.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's pure
Yeah, I know.
gold. Luis will someday will figure that out.
Yeah.
Luis doesn't like John Anderson. That's the problem. He just doesn't like John Anderson.
It's true.
He's got nothing to say. He's like,
I'm out.
It's true. I have rarely been more annoyed at a lead singer live than I have been at that guy. Every time I've seen him, it's infallible. And you know what? It wasn't only me. I could see the same reaction coming from, Wakeman and Howe and the other guys. So I think I'm in good company when I say these things. Just saying.
Hey, George, you remember our conversation the other day where we're going to be seeing comments tomorrow morning saying, damn, this crew was turning into the Hudson Valley Squares.
We used to be so peaceful.
We are peaceful. He keeps bringing it up.
There's no fun in that, though. I mean,
I come in peace.
and leave in pieces. I mean,
Oh, man.
All right, Eric, save us, please.
My number 3, as with Lewis, is Dixie Dregs, What If?
Yes.
It's just a perfect album.
It really is, man.
And I love, obviously, Take It Off the Top is amazing. Odyssey is amazing. Travel Tune sounds like Gentle Giant to me in places. I'll take the country song too, Lewis. This one I think is the perfect Dregs record. It's,
I think,
it's
yeah.
better than anything they've done. It's consistent. It's melodic.
Yes.
You know,
Flawless.
yeah, it's top notch for these guys.
Yep, I agree. Song per song.
Yep. Chuck.
All right, my number 3 is another American band, art rock band, Crack the Sky, Safety in Numbers. What's that? Alex Cruzetta and I got to see them a couple of years ago perform most of this album live, and they killed it, man. You know, Joe Palumbo doesn't have the voice anymore, but the band is still a-okay, man. What's that? Nuclear Apathy, you know, Flashlight, Long Nights, Light 'em Up McGraw, and the title track, man. Can't go wrong with this album, man. Safety in Numbers, Crack the Sky. It's my number 3.
And a great logo that they have kept throughout their entire career.
Love it.
That's right.
Love it. As a matter of fact, I got their shirt. I got Joe Palumbo signed their shirt that I have over here. Should have wore it.
Do they still tour?
Well, I know that they said that they're most of the time they usually tour, like they usually play in Baltimore. If not,
Yeah, okay.
that's usually in that area. That's where they're usually at.
Cool.
Yeah, the bass player is Dave DeMarco, right?
Dave DeMarco.
He's a great guy. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
he's a nice guy. Very nice guy.
Oh, didn't he play with Oblivion Sun?
Yes, he did. I think
The second record.
with Chris Beck and drums, and yeah.
Okay.
All
right, Armando.
My number 3, Rush Hemispheres. 4 tracks. That if that's not Prog, I don't know what the hell is in terms of album length. You know, the side long track, Cygnus 2, The Trees, which was a single back
Very
in the day
controversial.
in 78. Yeah. La Villa Stringiato. Bloody hell. I'm sorry. It, you know, air guitar all the way. You know,
Air drumming.
Air drumming all the way too. I was more of a guitarist, you know, but yeah, it perfect. So
cool.
That's it.
It's Joyce.
Rush is like pizza. Even if it's bad, it's still great.
And nothing bad about that album.
No.
Not even close.
No.
But they're huge fans of Sun Hillo.
Wow. Here we go.
They are. They are.
Man,
they love them some John Anderson, let me tell you. You know, and yes, and especially Chris Squire. They love some Chris Squire too. So yeah.
Breaking the chains around me. You're up, Steven.
Oh
Jeff
man.
Wayne's.
Oh, I can't believe about that album, man.
There you go. Is it Prog? I don't care. Really.
It's listed as Prog.
It's a sprawling conceptual piece of music that's got grand narration, multiple singers, orchestras, a band, science fiction sounds. I mean, if this album didn't help set up Prog for the 90s and the noughties, well, what did? Do you know? But I think it still stacks up now. I mean, yeah, it's of its time, but it's just a phenomenal record. And there are so many moments on it that just stick in the mind. I mean, most of them are noises like, that's half the fun. I think it's a fantastic album. There's great songs on it too, great performances. And I mean, it's a thing of beauty as well. It's Justin Hayward of the Moody Blues. You've got Phil Lynott on there. You've got Chris Thompson from Manfred Mann. You've obviously got David Essex. He's good on this, though, it has to be said. And I mean, it's just a beautiful thing. There's your cast of characters. Richard Burton doing narration. It's got the whole thing, really. It's just a phenomenal album. And it's been, I suppose, it made Jeff Wayne, and it's been his milestone as well, because he can't move on from it. Certainly hasn't been able to better it. Spartacus was awful, for want of a better turn of phrase. But this is an album that's kind of travelled with me through my life, and love it to bits, and I still regularly, I would say once a month, the whole album goes on, and I listen to the story, I talk through the narration, annoy everyone else that wants to hear it. But yeah, War of the Worlds.
No,
Just,
it's an excellent album, man. It's pretty good.
just does it for me. Great album.
The thing
We've
is,
been
a lot
doing
of
this for like
people-
15, 20 minutes, and I just noticed your shirt. That's a cool shirt, Steve.
That's
It's
why,
not
I was,
very
that's why I
prog,
was
but-
singing before.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah, I didn't notice it until Pete started harmonizing.
Very nice.
See,
Not
the
very
thing
prog,
is-
but yeah, good
The
band.
thing is, a lot of people wouldn't sit through these days, wouldn't sit and listen to an album from start to finish.
Sadly,
unheard
no.
of.
Except for old dinosaurs like us. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
When that
yeah,
album came out, they used to play it to death on WNEW in New York.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Mhm. But I still love it. It's still an excellent album.
What was the song that Justin Hayward
Forever Autumn.
Forever
thank
On?
you.
That was good
Mhm.
too.
That was the hit. That was
Yeah.
what it kind
That's
of
it.
traveled on.
Mhm.
not that Stephen remembers it, right? But you know,
Oh, yeah. Anyway, sorry, enough of that.
okay. Hey, you love it. That you like it. That's
I
not,
do.
not a bad thing.
Wonderful.
All right, Ken, back to you.
Okay, for my number 3, probably the best album, prog album from South America,
Hmm.
Boo Boo,
Boo Boo.
Antebellus. They were a large ensemble. They're led by a composer, Daniel Andreoli, who for some reason he's not credited playing any instrument, so I assume he didn't. It was violin, flute, sax, guitar, bass, and drums, but they also had like a choir, at least just, backing vocals that had like a choral effect. Not much in the way of keyboards. There's some piano on the album. It's 3 long tracks. It's a very dark album. King Crimson is a very obvious influence. Part of it where the guitar and the violin sort of lock in. It's got like a lark's tongue feel to it. There's a lot of tension through the whole album. And I said it was like a white knuckle listen. It's got kind of like almost like a magma intensity. Sorry, Pete, but it's got but I mean it doesn't sound like magma. It's just that level of intensity. I think it's a masterpiece. Unfortunately, it you have to have like Luis's money to be able to afford this. So I mean this is a reissue, and it actually just got another reissue, but it's out on CD. You can find it on CD. We have a couple of copies in stock, I think. Great album. It's really easily the best Argentinian prog album, and I would say the best South American prog album. So you like King Crimson, you would like Boo Boo. Stupid name for a band, isn't it? Boo Boo.
Boo Boo.
Must be-
Boo
Great record. Really great album. That's my number 3.
All right. Anthony, you're number 3.
The look of bewilderment on everybody's faces.
Yeah, we're like,
Oh, I'm just wondering why I've never heard that. That seems weird.
That's surprising to me.
I'm gonna have to buy it from you.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah, Louise, just go to www.lasercd.com.
Is that where they have them?
Yes.
Okay.
We have the vinyl on the way if anybody's interested, but yeah, it's a great album.
Awesome. I'm looking into that one too.
Give me a few weeks. I'll do it. I've got so much shit coming in. I swear to God, it's like I got no room to put it. I got no money.
put that credit card away.
Freaking debit card, man. It's fucking deadly. I'm sorry, but it is.
Everybody at the same time say you're welcome to Armando.
Exactly.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All of you.
All right, Anthony, what do you got for number 3?
My number 2 from 1978, Steve Hackett, Please Don't Touch. I think the cover, correct me if I'm wrong, is based off the line The Witch in the Wardrobe. And as Eric has said, it's kind of like there's not a lot of solos, but the songs are magnificent. The two Walls tracks, Narnia and Racing in A, are just absolutely gorgeous. The two tracks with Richie Havens, How Can I, and Icarus Ascending, fantastic. And then the song, the title track, Please Don't Touch, with Tony Banks vetoed for Wind and Wuthering, just killer. So Please Don't Touch from 1978, Mr. Steve Hackett, his second album.
And Anthony, was that What Gorilla that they used instead of Please Don't Touch?
Oh, I hate that song, man. I really hate that song.
So.
Okay.
I thought it was Your Own Special Way, but I
Oh,
could be
was it?
wrong.
Okay,
No, it was What Gorilla. Mhm.
okay.
I hate that song.
I like What Gorilla.
Can't stand that song. Never liked
I don't
it.
like Your Own Special Way. I think that's
I'll
pure
take that.
Joe-ness.
I'll
You know
take
what's
that
really
over What
annoying about
Gorilla.
Wind and Wuthering? That should have been a double album. They put out the EP. They put out the Spot the Pigeon EP, which had 3 good songs, right? And if
That
they
came out in
include Please Don't
79,
Touch,
yeah.
they do a version of Please Don't Touch. They've got a killer double album.
Yeah, but I guess they didn't want to have another Lamb Lies Down on them, and so they were like, fuck it. You know?
Yeah, but I think Spot the Pigeon came out in 79 after, and then there were 3.
Well, Hackett's on all those tunes.
Yeah. Hackett's on those.
It was all
They're
all
76.
leftover
It's
tracks.
76.
It
Yeah.
was all leftover tracks.
Mhm.
And they were good tracks too.
Pigeons. God.
They played some of those tracks live.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just played on the 2015 tour. They were playing Inside Now.
That's a great song.
My number 3. It's been mentioned a couple times. What if? My opinion, the best Dregs album. And
Yep.
top
But
start to finish, man, take it off the top. Odyssey is just absolutely amazing. Title track, Ice Kids, Gina Lola Breakdown, Night Meets Light. I mean, just amazing musicianship on here. The songs are memorable. I love it. Whatever you want to call it, who cares? It's great. So that's my number 3.
Yep.
Pete, that seems to be the consensus among Dreg fans. Everybody says that's the one to get.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, they're all really good, Anthony, but that one is like a step above the other ones.
That is their magnum opus right there.
Yeah, it's just
Agreed.
Yeah, incredible. All right, George, back to you.
My number 2 is from jolly old England. Gong,
Nice.
Espresso 2.
Mhm.
When I first started getting into fusion in the early 80s, I got Enigmatic Ocean was one of the first records and became enamored with Holdsworth and didn't really like his solo albums at first when people showed them to me and they said, well, if you want to hear more the energy of Enigmatic Ocean, and this was the first thing they told me to check out, and this and the previous album, Gazeus, but I think this is just a touch better. I know I'm out of step with that, but
No, I agree. Mhm.
yeah,
I
just
agree.
love this album. Even if Holdsworth wasn't on it, I think I like it. Just
It's still a good album, yeah.
the tunes really appeal to me. So Gong, Espresso 2.
Nice.
Yeah, both that and Gasus are really good. I
Mhm.
like it both.
Oh,
What
yeah,
what a difference those albums are than the stuff that came before it, huh?
Sheesh, but that drumming, man.
yeah,
Guillermo learned. Oh, he was
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
And did you see that fusion part of the band in the late 70s?
Me? They never
Yeah.
came. They never came over here.
Yeah.
Wait, I shouldn't say
Oh,
that. I think they
No,
did. They may have. They may have in '79. But George might know.
I don't.
yeah, because a buddy of mine said he saw him, I think, at the bottom line.
I didn't see them.
Hmm.
I saw Holdsworth early on, but I didn't see that version of Gone.
Ken,
I
did
never
you
saw.
ever
I never
catch,
saw Gone.
did you ever catch Holdsworth with any of those other bands that he was in the 70s?
No.
No?
No, I just like IOU when he started with IOU.
Okay, the solos.
With Williams, the vocalist, Paul Williams.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's when I first started to see him.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen Holdsworth either with Lifetime or Soft Machine or UK or just.
Especially UK, man.
Oh,
Yeah,
I should say, well, of course, I saw UK. I saw UK on their first tour.
Okay.
So that was the first time.
Gotcha.
So I assume we're going to be talking about UK.
It has to be, right? I didn't
Oh,
think it.
of
Gonna have our
course.
drinks ready.
I have exactly.
I mean, so, I could tell you my UK stories, such as they are.
Okay, cool. We'll get to that. All right, sounds good. All right, Lewis, number
All right,
two.
my number two. I couldn't find the CD, but I'm gonna go with Happy the Man, Crafty Hands.
Mhm.
Beautiful. Mhm.
I love that record.
Yep.
Absolutely love that record, and I can't say enough good things about it. It's just a stone cold classic.
Mhm.
Happy the Man, Crafty Hands.
Camel meets Gentle Giant.
Amazing, just
Yep,
amazing.
they're amazing band. Yep. Mhm.
I remember talking with Kit Watkins at Orion Studios one day, and he was telling this story how they got a phone call. I mean, I don't know if this is true, man. Ken can correct me if it's wrong, but he was telling that they had a shot at auditioning for Peter Gabriel,
It did.
and that one of the guys in the band didn't really know Peter Gabriel as an individual that well, and when he brought the songs that he had for them, he was a little tentative in the piano as he was playing through them, and then when it came time to play them, the guy played them back with the mistakes.
Wow.
Just and that was basically the end of that, right?
I don't know if they ever. I don't know if they ever played together. If they actually ever met. I know that Happy the Man certainly sent Gabriel their album, their music.
Yeah, this happened at Orion in one of those after parties that they were
Yeah,
talking.
I mean, you know,
I don't know, but this is the story that I heard, so I'm just sharing. This is what I heard apparently happened.
so
And they were telling it like full of regret. Like
so
they felt they truly fucked up, you know.
Wow.
I mean,
But,
I could tell you a quick story that a friend of ours was doing some work with Mike and the Mechanics, and he had access to the Genesis tape archives. And Genesis was one of those bands they used to record every show, and they have supposedly recordings of virtually every show. And this person was a tape trader, and he was allowed to take basically whatever he wanted. So we got soundboard masters from the Lamb tour, and there's a lot of bootlegs from like Miami and the
Lakeland.
Florida shows. And that's what that came from. And then there was, if I remember correctly, there was a reel marked Happy the Man. And I think it just turned out that it was like either Crafty Hands or the first album. So there was definitely a connection made. I don't know how far it actually went. May have, but I know that they auditioned or they at least submitted their material for Gabriel.
I will ask Stan. I actually started taking guitar lessons with him on Zoom. So
nice. Yeah,
my next meeting with Stan, I'll see if he'll tell me the story.
that'd be great. Because I'm curious. That happened many years ago. That this.
I've read a couple things. I read they actually rehearsed with him for a day.
That was what they were saying, that they did.
Okay.
Maybe they did.
And that the meeting didn't end as well as they had hoped because it was
Right.
like a little.
Cool. All right, Eric, you're up.
Okay, my number two is Jethro Tull's Heavy Horses. This is the perfect time of year. It's a fall album. I know October and Leaves are mentioned in a couple of the lyrics. I just think the arrangements, it's folksy at its base. There's so much acoustic guitar, but there's so much orchestration, arranging, the rhythm section. It's like a classical folk. This and Songs from the Wood have that same quality to them. And I know I've said it on previous shows. It's absolutely my favorite era of Tull. And that's it. 1978 Heavy Horses.
Can't go wrong with him with any Tull during the 70s, man.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll tell you, Eric, the height of John Glasscock and Barrymore Barlow's powers. I mean, fantastic.
Yep, doesn't get better.
Yep. Cool. All right, our center square. Back to you, Chuck.
Another Canadian art rock band, Saga, debut album. Just one of those albums that I love very much, man. You listen to this group and you just can't understand how this group couldn't have been more famous here. you know, at least worldwide. This album, it just happens to be that this album came out probably just a little bit too late. You know, there's not a bad song on this album, man. You know, they have the first of the chapters, the chapter single of songs, which is Will It Be You? Love that song. And I remember playing that song for my nephews when they were younger. They're like, oh man, that song is awesome. You know, but this debut album, Saga, their debut album, eponymously named.
It's like the Canadian Curse, Max Webster, Saga, all these bands that,
Yep.
you know. And do you know the keyboard player on that record isn't Crichton or Gilmour? I'm sorry, Jim
Peter
Gilmour.
Rochon.
So was he
Peter
only on the
Rochon.
first? Was he only on the first release, or is he?
Yeah, he left
Yeah,
shortly
he
after
left
the
right
album
after. Yeah.
came out.
Mhm.
They had it was him on the first one, Peter Rochon on the first one, Greg Chad on the second.
That's right,
and
Greg
Visit
Chad.
Twilight. And they couldn't, after recording and the one tour, they couldn't stand Greg Chad, so they kicked him out of the band. And then they got Jim Gilmour.
Mhm.
Jim's a fine player.
Yep.
Player. All right, Armando, back to you.
By the way, they are coming out with another album, studio album.
I'm glad to see that they're back, man. Mhm.
They're working on it. And yeah, so yeah, my number 2, Al Di Meola Casino.
Mhm.
As we say in Italian, per l'amore di Dio, for the love of God. I mean, I listened to this album yesterday a couple of times, and it was just like, you know, Senior Mouse, title track, Egyptian Danza. It was just like, Jesus Christ. You know, I could not get over this, you know.
Player.
Amazing. Amazing.
One of the godfathers of the shred guitar.
But the control he had,
Yeah.
just the control and his tone, I mean, unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Unfreaking believable. Yeah, that's my number 2.
Cool. Great choice. Steven, back to you.
My number 2 is a debut album and one that went ginormously huge. It's The Kick Inside.
Beautiful. Mhm. Love it.
It's just,
Mhm.
it's still an incredible listen. I had this on this afternoon, and you put the pieces together. This is, I think she was 19 years old. It's just a bonkers album. It's brave. It's all over the place. Vocally, it's just breathtaking. It's, as soon as you put it on, it's captivating. You have to stop what you're doing and kind of go, is that really what I'm hearing? It's just so good, but it's so controlled, but it's so out there. I mean, nobody else was making music.
Remember,
like this.
she
I mean, I know
released 2 albums that year. Mhm. Remember, she released 2, Lionheart as well.
I think, yeah, Lionheart is 78 as well.
But that album, her debut album, is outstanding.
Oh, I mean, Wuthering Heights, obviously, Man with a Child in His Eyes. But the whole thing is just wonderful.
Unreal.
Yeah, it really is. And it's, as I say, it's still got that same power now. I mean, I was 5 in 78, 4 or 5, and I still remember this music just taking a hold of me back then. Do you know? I mean, I didn't really come from a house that listened to a lot of music, so there wasn't like music on all the time in the house. This was just everywhere, though. Do you know? It was on the telly. You couldn't move for it, but it still stacks up now. So yeah, The Kick Inside, Kate Bush is my number 2.
I love it.
Which reminds me,
More and
we
more,
said a
actually.
couple months ago we were going to do a Kate Bush album ranking. For those of you guys who I think are pretty well versed in her catalog, we probably need to circle back on that at some point.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
There you go. All right, Mr. Golden, you're up.
So I wanted to correct a mistake that Luis made before. Well, there are many, Luis, but I'm
But you start with one. Don't be too.
we'll start with this one. Yes. So this is my number 2.
There we go.
It was not the number 5 album.
Agreed.
Yeah, correct. Number 2. Those for you. Those. So, in my opinion, this is one of the most important progressive rock albums of the 70s. I think it's just a masterpiece. It's in my all-time top 10. Of course, I have 100 albums in my all-time top 10, but that's how that goes. So,
Right.
it's very strange because Blanco had this great career and they had this great singer, Francesco Di Giacomo. And for some reason, they decided to make an album without him, although he's involved. he's credited with the titles, the song titles. It is basically the perfect integration of rock band and orchestra. They added a saxophone player, Alan King. He also played flute, and the band themselves were almost like an orchestra. There's just a maturity about the album.
Yes.
It's almost, it starts to get questionable where the band ends and the orchestra begins. It's a masterpiece. It's a perfect album. I've played this for so many guys, audiophiles, and not to say that it's an audiophile album, but I've had guys come over here and, I fire it up on the system and they're like, what the hell is that? Because they'd never heard anything like it.
Yes.
It's just a magnificent album. And yeah, it really is. And it's genuinely in my all-time top 10, which is amazing to think that's my number 2. It's not even my number 1.
Right.
And it's Luis's number 5 is, come on.
I know. It's shameful, really, to be.
Will you apologize?
I don't know how to do it. I've tried before.
I have ideas.
But they're like, my neurons are just not wired for it.
I understand. All right. Well,
Great choice.
great record. I think an essential record.
I agree.
All right, Anthony, back to you, number 2.
My number 2 from 1978 comes off a period where the band was kind of like on hiatus for about a year or two, so their lead man can come up with a theme for their next album. I'm going with David Gilmour, self-titled from 1978. Typical David Gilmour record. The tone is absolutely gorgeous. This is very like a nice winter-esque scene. I love the front cover of this. Rick Wills from Foreigner plays bass. Tunes like Short and Sweet with Roy Harper, Mel Halis, and Raise My Rent are the instrumentals on this. Absolutely gorgeous playing by Gilmour. No Way is another standout track. So I'm going with my number 2, David Gilmour from 1978. Fantastic, on Columbia Records.
Nice.
Great choice.
Good one.
I saw him on his first solo tour. I don't know if it was for that album or the next album, the first tour he did.
It was About Face. That would have been the tour. He didn't tour that album.
The Icicle Works opened up for him.
Oh, really?
I remember them.
Whisper to a Scream.
I got to tell you,
Exactly. The
Good one.
one big hit. Yeah, that was a good one.
they were not so
MTV
great.
used to play it a lot.
And Anthony, with that
To
Gilmour
a
record,
Scream.
it sounds like they're in a room, just 3 of them looking at each other and just kind of jamming and seeing what comes out. It's so loose and kind of open. It's just really, it's a great vibe on that record.
Yeah. And Gilmour dismisses the record. I don't think he's ever played anything live from it, which is sad.
It's a good record.
Yeah.
A lot of bands do that. They're like, oh, the first album really didn't represent what we wanted to do. It was, we didn't have a lot of time. They all do that. Most of them do that. But I think it's a good album.
Yes, indeed.
It's a good album.
I love it.
All right, my number 2. Dun, 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 dun,
Mhm.
dun, 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 dun. Dun-ga-dun, dun-ga-dun. Yeah, Heavy Horses. Kind of like what Eric was saying before. This is a pretty charming era in the history of the band. That's kind of like the folk rock prog type of thing. That started with Songs from the Wood and continued through this, and he even got a little bit of that on Stormwatch as well. But what a great band! Arguably one of the best lineups they ever had.
Yep.
Just a real good woodsy, folky. There's bits of hard rock on here. Just wonderful arrangements and melodies and expert playing on here. I love it. It's great. Love the title track. Rover is amazing. No Lullaby, Moths. One Brown Mouse. I mean, it's just good, quirky, very English stuff. Love it. That's my number 2.
Did you ever hear Echoland's version of One Brown Mouse?
I love
the
that
Magna
version.
Carta?
Mhm. Yeah,
I
love
might
that
have.
version.
Yeah, I might
It's
have.
pretty cool. They did a
Mhm.
good job with it.
Mhm.
Excellent.
I have that box set sitting in my bedroom, and I bought it a couple of years ago. Still have not listened to it. And
No,
I have to, yeah,
Oh,
literally.
For
I have to-
shame, Armando, for
You got
shame.
work.
I know. kill me now. Like
Uh-oh.
just
As you
lightning
order
strike
20
me
more
dead now.
CDs.
But it's just, yeah, I've got songs from the wood in the box set form, in the books and in the book format, and it's just, you need time to listen to the albums, right?
There's a
Like,
lot of stuff on those box sets.
Mhm.
Yeah.
mhm.
Cool. All right, George. Number ones. Here we go. What's that?
I just said numero uno.
Yes, that's right. Number ones. Here we go.
It's been called a couple of times from Luponte Venditti land.
Mhm.
Hemispheres.
Love it.
It's never gonna be. For me, I mean, it's probably my top 10 all time. Like Ken was saying about the Bronco record, it's probably my top 10 of all time. So it was never going to be anything else for me. Nothing much I can tell you about it other than this is a definite no softies record. There's no tears, there's no Rivendell, there's no different strings, none of that stuff. To the point.
Yep.
I love different strings.
You can love it, it's still a softie.
Oh, come on.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it is. It is. Come on.
Oh, but it's so just atmospheric and so emotional. I don't care. It's awesome. Right, Ken?
Hell yeah.
So Chuck needs to cheer up a little bit. He's too depressed tonight.
No, I'm fine, man.
He hasn't laughed enough tonight. Like he needs to cheer up a little bit. You know, like he's a
I'm
little-
just listening, and you guys are killing me, man.
I know.
George, you
No,
made me
man.
spit out my tea, man. I don't think I've ever done that on camera before. Wow.
It had to be
man.
said, right?
Oh,
All right, Lewis, back to you.
Well, I'm glad that Hemispheres has been mentioned often because it deserves to be mentioned. But for me, even though I love every second of Hemispheres, this record is just, this is it for me for that year.
Yep.
I don't know of any better representation. I would go further than Pete. I would say that without a question, this was the best Jethro Tull lineup.
Yep.
I don't think any other one can even touch it, really.
Mhm.
And I think at that particular point in time, they were so well oiled in how John Evan was orchestrating things and listening to Ian Anderson's demos and feeding them to people and just making these incredible arrangements happen for the band. And this is also just for me personally, it's a record that I learned a lot of music from. Like if you really want to learn how to play bass,
Mhm.
you can do no wrong if you learn songs like No Lullaby, Heavy Horses, Acres Wild.
Nope.
This is a master class in rhythm, right? And also just listening to Barrymore Barlow, just transcribe the drums and put that stuff in your brain. This is so. I mean, Hemispheres came into my life much later. I got this originally as a bootleg out of the subway in Mexico City, and this is now like a basic part of my DNA. And this was actually also the first record I played for my daughter when she was born at home, the hospital. This was the first thing I played for her because it's just so important for me. So it could be no other.
It's a beautiful album, man.
Heavy Horses.
Mhm.
Great pick.
All right, Eric. I think I know what Eric's number one is.
I think you're right. And I hate to pull a Ken, Lewis, because you and I have been pretty much on point tonight, but you are wrong again because
Yes.
this is number one.
It's a theme.
Yeah. And I did the homework show, so I've already talked about this a million times, but it's just a perfect record for me. Everything works.
Except track 5.
I love it.
I knew that was
Yeah,
coming.
we know that too, Armando. We know that.
I'm
too.
sorry. I'll shut up.
So that's Happy the Man, number one for me, Crafty Hands.
Love it.
All right, Chuck. What do you got?
All right. Oh, my last one is American band, or actually no, American composer, Studio Tan, but I still have the leather cover.
Nice.
You know, Frank Zappa. You know how much I love Frank Zappa, and you know this album. Had he been able to release it like the way he was supposed to, this would have been. These 4 songs would have just been just as great as anything that he did, but you know, to get it as the leather compilation still kills, man. My number one is Studio Time from Frank Zappa.
Great stuff on there for sure. Yeah, good choice.
And who plays on Studio Tan, Charles?
Eddie Jobson.
Everyone take a drink. I'll do it after off camera.
I better save this because I have a feeling I'm going to need it in a couple
Yeah,
minutes.
it's coming.
Yeah.
I have to get something. I'm prepared. I forgot that this is fucking UK now.
Oh fuck. Oh,
All
God.
right. Yeah. All right, Armando, what do you got for number one?
My number one, Saga debut. I have the original Polydor vinyl release.
Nice.
I bought it about 10 years ago. Listen to the album itself from top to bottom, perfection. The recording, the drums, the
guitar,
everything, the way it was recorded was perfect. Track listing, How Long, Humble Stance, Ice Nice, The Perfectionist, which is my favorite track on the album, which is a
Classics. Yep.
a waltz, a rock waltz, which was a big hit in Mexico, I believe, and it wasn't even a single. It wasn't even a single. Like when, just perfection from top to bottom.
Love it.
Yeah, that's my number one.
Cool. Got some love for Saga tonight. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Stephen, you're number one.
Well, so many to choose from, isn't there? Do you know? I mean, you're looking through this and you're seeing the choices that everyone's got, and you think, should it be Rush? Should it be Jethro Tull? Should it be UK? So I chose Jean-Michel Jarre instead.
Oh, I love that album.
that.
I love that
That's a
album.
great record. That's a great
Oh my
record.
God.
Hard to decide between those, so let's do something else entirely.
I love that.
I mean, he also looks like that, you know. I mean, that's a cool cat right there. You know, there you go. That's enough reason for number one. But he also looks like this as well. Do you know? If you can't quite make up your mind.
I just realized he looks like a young
Just
Carl
do this.
Sagan there, doesn't he?
Yes. Been hearing a lot of Carl Sagan lately.
You're getting me dizzy there, Stephen, don't you?
Yeah, so this is Equinox. And it's just a great album. I love the atmosphere of this album. It's dark, yet it's bright. The arrangements are fantastic on here. It's quite daring. I hate to say it, it's the last track that lets it down. Part 8 kind of gets a little twee, but it's remarkably hook-laden. It's remarkably commercial, but it doesn't compromise.
Well, the album did well here. That album did very well here.
I mean, I think it did well everywhere. Part 5 was a single that really charted quite well in a lot of places, but it was on the television. It was used as music for a whole load of different things, and it was just kind of omnipresent. Jarre was huge at this stage. I saw him, I don't know, it must be about 10 years ago now. He actually came and played all of this on the original instruments. It was just a bank of things to plug in behind the stage that they were playing and moving. They had to tune up before they started. But just before the music started, this chair was moved onto the stage, an egg chair, just one of the old-fashioned 60s egg seats. And the lights went down, and of course, the chair turned, and there he was just sitting there in the egg. And you were like, oh, we're in for a night of it now. Remarkably pretentious, and I loved every second of it. It was fantastic. So yeah, my number one is Equinox by Jean-Michel Jarre.
Nice.
Perfect. Yeah.
Very nice. All right, Ken, what do you got for number one?
Okay, so I know Anthony didn't pick this, so this is also an album easily in my all-time top 10. I went live, but live with a twist. Grobschnitt, Solar Music Live. It's the greatest live album ever recorded in any genre. I mean, at this point, that's settled law. Everybody knows it. The song itself, I mean, it's it's basically, it takes up an album. It was the studio version appeared on Ballermann, which was their second album, but they took it and blew it up live and transformed it into something else. They expanded it, and he's changed from night to night, and they were kind of nicknamed like the German Grateful Dead. And so you could listen to it on any given night and be a bit different. It's basically like a mix of like classic space rock and symphonic rock. Everybody in the band had a nickname. They were kind of these ridiculous names. The album starts out with Wildschwein having these really kind of forgettable lyrics. And then the whole thing just sort of blasts off into space. And you get this great interplay between the two guitar players, Wildschwein and Lupo, the two of them. The keyboard player went by the name of Mist, and he was just phenomenal. The rhythm section was Papo and Iraq. I think everybody knows Iraq by now. Mm-hmm. And they were just this amazing driving force of a rhythm section. And then you had the guitar player and the keyboard player just doing these amazing solos, playing off one another. You know, when the whole thing's over, man, you're exhausted. If you get a chance to see the video from the Rock Palace performance, which I think this was actually recorded Rock Palace, where the Rock Palace concert was filmed, you can see there's this heavy theatrical element. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on stage while they're performing all this stuff. And then it came out in 1998. It got reissued on CD, and they added 13 minutes of music that they had to leave off of the vinyl release because of length. So they had the extra time, because it runs about 15 minutes or so, but they had the time for CD. So it was basically the encore. And for me, it's like the perfect album. And I can't say it enough. I mean, you know.
A lot of fun. I just got it recently. A lot of fun.
You like it?
Yep, I do. Yeah. It's wacky, but it's good.
Well, yeah, there's this sort of this odd comedic element.
Yeah, it's like this theatricalness to it, which is
and if you, like I said, if you you could go on YouTube, or if you had the box set that had the DVD and you watch the performance of it, I mean, it's just insanity. You can see it, actually, you can see it on the cover. You can see it on the cover of the album. There's all this crap going on, while they're performing. And they used to, when they would play live, the show would open up really with it was kind of like a theatrical performance. They used to have like different like comedy acts, I think, and just all kinds of weird stuff going on. And then they would get to the concert. I used to trade tapes with a guy in Germany. He used to send me all these soundboards, and he would cut out like the first 45 minutes of every show because it was just all this nonsense in German I couldn't understand. Like, let's get to the music, And the shows were still like 2.5 hours long. So
you get your money's worth at least.
Yeah.
You know what this makes me? I've never heard this record. I'm gonna have to explore it. But this makes me think, Pete. Remember that homework assignment that Chris Allo gave me?
Yeah.
Imagine that would be done by German prog heads.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this album has everything. So
yeah. Cool.
Very cool. All right, the moment we've all been waiting for. Everybody is George beat me to it. Everybody get your drink out.
Wait.
All right, my number one from 1978 is John-Luc Ponty's Cosmic Messenger.
Yeah.
Or is it UK self-titled, baby?
Drinking mouthwash.
Cheers.
Oh my God.
As everybody knows, I'm a huge Jobson head. This is one of the best super groups of prog ever. Alaska, In the Dead of the Night, Wetton, Bruford, Jobson, and Holdsey. Doesn't get any better than this. Pure Magic, 1978. Numero uno, drink, fellas!
I'm not thirsty. I'm gonna drink off camera.
Did any of you guys see them on that tour?
No.
They were supposed to open for Jean-Luc Ponty in New York, and
Oh, wow.
and they canceled. They got dropped from the bill, and I think, I could be wrong, I think they were replaced on the bill with Starcastle. And I returned my tickets. I was so pissed off. I got my money, which was stupid because I was a Ponty fan. I don't know. So Anyway, I went to the Morris stage in Morristown, New Jersey. It was July 8th, 1978. That was because they only did a handful of headlining shows. So they basically did the album, and then I think they did Sahara of Snow
Mhm.
from the Bruford.
Yeah,
that
that's on the boots. Yeah.
Yeah, and there were radio broadcasts from Philly. They played, I think that was 4th of July.
Penn's
They
Landing.
played at Penn's Landing in Philly. That was a famous radio broadcast. Cleveland radio broadcast. The tour is pretty well
Boston.
documented. They played
Boston.
the same show every night.
Mhm.
But
Boston.
man, that was great.
Cool. All right. Well, no surprise what my number one is. Hemispheres
Hemispheres.
by Rush. Yeah, I mean, it's, for me, it's a top 2 Rush album. And it's one of the great albums of the 70s, I think. And just, man, it's just so intense. As George said, no softies on this one at all. It's epic. It's got La Villa Strangiato. I mean, what more do you need, right?
Mhm.
Although
I don't know
not
where
the
to close
definitive
off on
version
that
of it.
one.
I still think Exit Stage Left has the definitive version of La Villa, but it's still damn great on here too.
Yep.
So yeah, that's my number one. So if you guys got any honorables you want to rattle off quickly, we can blow through. George,
I got 3 of them.
All right, I got a few.
Okay.
Sphero, French band.
Oh, good one. Yeah.
Album's Prima Donna. You like Brand X? This is the French Brand X, basically.
Yep.
Really good record.
God damn it! Now I gotta buy it. Is that tough
George
to
is
find,
killing us
George?
again.
Is it what?
So you're
Is it
killing
tough to
us again. More
find?
money.
I don't think it's tough to find. I got it a couple
think
years
so.
ago. Yeah.
This is Joanne Brackeen, Aft. This is a unusual record. Piano, bass, guitar trio. Ken probably knows Ryo Kawasaki.
Rob Kawasaki's on it.
Yeah, really. She's a really incredible player, a Berkeley piano instructor. And then 2 that were mentioned by everybody else. National Health.
Right.
Oh, and also Fermata, Huascaran. I don't have the CD. That's a really good record.
Yeah, that is. Cool.
George, did I get you that National Health?
Yes.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, you sent it to myself as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I bought that from Ken Gold, and he's a pretty cool dude.
Thank you. That must have been painful, but I appreciate it.
Oh man. I got a few over here myself. What's that? Genesis, and then there were 3. And then there were 3, and then as like everyone else, National Health, Peter Gabriel's Scratch. Hemispheres, can't go wrong with Hemispheres. Love that title track. What's that? I'm gonna throw a couple of curveballs in here. Kraftwerks, the Man Machine,
Ooh.
and Max Webster.
Yeah.
Up my sleeve.
Yes.
So those are my honorables right there.
Cool.
For
Lewis.
me, my 2 honorables would have been Leather.
Mhm.
I've always been frustrated about the way the album was mixed and put together. Like they always interrupt. You know, it's just like it's such a great thing, but it's like a lap dance.
Mhm.
Like it's
Just
not-
watching Chuck, man, it's a treat.
Thanks,
It's
man.
a freaking treat, man.
and talking about live albums, I would definitely mention "Bursting Out" by Jethro Tull,
Oh,
Yes.
which is a
Mhm.
fantastic live album.
Killer album.
Was the band of Heavy Horses on tour
Right. Yeah.
killing? I mean, the intro to Minstrel, they do that live
Mm-hmm.
with the whole original thing, but with John Glasgow before he fell ill and when he was still
Mhm.
able to just bring the thunder. It was just incredible. So yeah, I'll go with "Bursting Out" as a
Yeah.
Great record.
Eric, you got any?
Yeah, actually, all of mine I think have been mentioned, but I wanted to thank Anthony because he also sent me National Health, which is fantastic.
Great album.
Mhm.
Pete, as you said, I have the Pat Metheny. That's
Great
probably
album.
kind of falls in the softies, but there's just so much going on. It's one of those things you just sit and absorb everything. And Lyle Mays and Mark Egan are also just fantastic. They stand out on that as well.
Egan is so good. Yeah. They're both.
UK, Rush, I had the Gilmour, so I wanted to throw Camel in, but Breathless just doesn't do it for me in that. So That's everything for me.
Cool. Armando, you got any?
I've got three, but before I give you the three, I will be filing for chapter 11 after the show because there's a lot of shit that I need to get. And I blame all of you. Okay. I just blame all of you.
You're welcome.
I will be sending you the bills. Okay. I've got three. Tangerine Dream Cyclone was one, and the only reason why it's an honorable mention was because Saga knocked it out.
There you go.
Genesis, and then there were three, which goes without saying, and Mike Oldfield Incantations.
Oh man,
Ooh,
I forgot about
that's a
that
good
one.
one, too.
That's a good album.
Real good album.
Double album, 72 minutes of pure bliss.
That might be my favorite by him. Mhm.
And speaking of Mike Oldfield, there's a Tubular Bells 4 coming out.
Because you can never have enough tubular bells, right?
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. He's been working on it for years. I mean, who knows when it's going to come out, but he's working on it. So yeah.
Armando, do you have the original Tubular Bells with the DVD that comes with it with the performance with Steve Hillage and
No,
else?
I've got
who's on that? Hillage and Oldfield and who else?
On what do you, I'm sorry, on which record are you talking?
Tubular Bells.
The DVD that came with Tubular Bells later on from the 1973 performance.
I don't remember.
Or
everybody was on it.
74. I think
Everybody
Hillage
was
was
on
on
that.
it.
They were all- that's the one where they were all sitting around in a
Yeah, the
circle.
BBC.
Yes.
I think it was on.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I've
That's
got
Hillage and Oldfield are there.
Can I interject my Mike Oldfield story?
Uh-oh.
Go for it.
Please.
So Mike Oldfield, he didn't play here very often. The very first show he did in the US, it was in a club at my father's place in Roslyn, Long Island. I went to see him, recorded the show, and he was incredible, right? This was like a live stream to see Mike Oldfield and to see Mike Oldfield play in a tiny club. Well, he had Morris Pert on one side of the stage, and he had this drummer on the other side. And I'm watching the show, and I'm like, who the hell is this drummer that's kicking Morris Pert's ass all night long?
Mhm.
Oh, it was Pierre Morlaine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it until after the fact it was Pierre Morlaine. And then he played a couple of nights later. I took a blind date there.
Uh-oh.
I'm-
Not your wife?
No, it was not my wife. This was pre-wife. And
Well, to answer Anthony's question, I've got 3 copies of Tubular Bells. Just call me Chris Allo. I've got the Virgin release on CD. I have the 2003 release with John Cleese doing the announcing of the instruments at the very end. And I have for some reason, I have a Columbia Records vinyl release of it. About a few years ago. So yeah, I think I need one more copy, don't you? I mean, like just
Can't hurt, right?
even 4.
Yeah,
So,
I think the DVD is part of the 30th anniversary, I believe.
oh, okay. Well then, okay. Amazon, here I come. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Really good.
So yeah, I'll do that.
Ken, was your blind
Yeah,
date?
because
your
Oldfield
one-night
plays
date with that woman?
on Pierre Morlaine's Downwind.
Yes. Mhm.
What did you say, Pete? Was
I said, was your blind date with that woman at the Oldfield concert? Was that the one and only time you went out with that woman?
Yes, it was a very interesting night, and I can't talk about it.
Uh-oh.
Sure, the selection of tunes.
I better not talk about it. I better not talk about it.
The
You're
tubular
safe.
bells went off for sure.
Yeah.
That was one tubular bell too far.
Ding dong.
It was a very interesting night.
All right, Stephen,
Yeah.
what do you got?
Oh, but lots that's been mentioned: Genesis, Rush, Tull, UK, Peter Gabriel. I mean, with Hackett as well. It was a remarkably expensive year for Genesis
yes.
completers, weren't it? Anthony Phillips,
Anthony
wise
Phillips.
after the event. I
What
like that
is
as well.
What's that one, Stephen? Sorry.
Anthony Phillips.
Anthony Phillips.
Oh,
Wise after
bloody
the
hell.
event.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
He's on form in that stage, I think. Alan Parsons I had as well, and Eloy.
Ooh.
Sound cries of the mighty echoes.
Stephen, I'm going to correct you. That's for the 1979 show.
Oh,
Yes.
Correct.
Is it?
Otherwise, I would have picked it.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Well, I'm ahead of my
That
time
one
here.
is,
I'm ahead of my time.
must-have.
But that, we
Give
didn't
me a
see that.
break.
We didn't
Still
see
a great
that.
album.
It's a,
Give it a
It's a
it's,
great album.
it's their best. It's their best album. That's the one.
Yeah.
And I picked this one out so that Ken can ask for a refund.
Absolutely.
Is
I
this-
want my money back.
Okay, you do want your money back.
I
This is
want
not-
my 30 seconds back.
This is not their best
Too
album.
late.
Okay, but I was looking through for 1978 albums and 1979 ones today, and I found this. Okay, so Star Castle. Okay,
Sarcasm, okay.
refunds available. All right, and this one is reel to reel. Now this is not one of their best, but it is 1978. But the reason I took it out was because I don't know
Those
where
shirts,
I got
man.
this, but it's a promo. Okay, but it also says on the back, Yorkshire Television. Okay, and I thought to myself, I mean, what on earth was this used for TV music for?
Ugh.
You know, who at local Yorkshire Television thought, I know what we can use for the backing music for something. Star Castle, reel to reel. I mean, no wonder I bought this at a record fair, somebody, because somebody went that with me. So anyway, just an aside.
Chuck is trying to hold it in, but he can't.
Oh man,
That's like
those shirts, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
bloody. Oh my God.
It's all,
That's like
all
Love
happening
Beat
here.
Part 2, you know? It's like
Exactly.
There you are.
the whole time at the bottom, right? Let's show a little
Wow.
midriff there. Oh, that's terrible.
I mean, the more I look, the more blind I become.
Oh gosh. Oh.
Star Castle. That's
At least it's in black and white.
Yeah.
True.
Yes.
True. Oh, man.
Anyway, that's enough for me.
All right, Ken.
All right, I got a lot here, so I'll run through them quick. But the first one, this was going to be my number 5, and I swapped it out. So Scorpions, Tokyo Tapes, incredible live album. It has one of the. It's kind of a phenomena because the song Polar Nights has one of the greatest guitar solos of all time and one of the worst vocal performances of all time. So all in the same song. It's a great overview. It touches on sort of the early prog stuff. They do Fly to the Rainbow on here, In Trance. This is just a white hot album. I remember driving Michael Manring to an interview, and he had never heard this album, and I played it for him, and he was just like, he just sat there quietly. He was just totally blown away by this record. If you don't have this album, you
Damn good album.
got to be careful because they cut some of it out. So it was a double album and a double CD, and then it got reissued as a single CD. And I think it's since come out again as a double. But here are some other 78 stuff that I'm surprised nobody mentioned. Bruford, feels good to me. This was 1978. Well, Anthony touched on this one. John Luponte, Cosmic Messenger.
Touched. He mentioned it. Touched.
He did a little fake job on it.
That's right.
FM, directed disc.
Mm.
This was a good album.
I have that. Yeah.
Camel, a live record,
Oh yes. Oh, Anthony, how can we forget that?
That's fantastic.
right? And I'm a fan of this album. I know not everybody apparently, but Camel Breathless. I don't have a problem with this album. Not that best, not a bad album. For guys into Zool, Vidorge. Vidorge was a great Magma-esque band, very much like Magma. From Portugal, Contra, great Mellotron album, great symphonic prog, a little dark, great shit. From France, Shylock, Ile de Fèvre, get your King Crimson fix on.
Yeah.
And then 1978, what would be better than Aria, 1978.
Yes. Demetrius Stratus.
And I gotta
my
tell you,
God,
so here's the funny part, right? So we're going through all these albums, and then we're gonna read the comments later, and some guy's gonna say, how come you didn't mention so-and-so? I'm gonna pick like some band from Yugoslavia, from like former Yugoslavia. Always, every time.
Can't mention everything, right?
Oh,
Yeah, it's
man.
like, nobody mentioned so-and-so from Singapore. What?
I It's always the bass player from that band. Right?
It's really funny. I love
man.
I love reading the comments. It's
Oh.
great reading the comments, and sometimes they crack me up. It's like, who? What are you talking about?
Yeah, and that FM album, was that direct to disc?
Yes.
Yeah, I've got that one.
There are two different versions of it with two different covers.
Yeah, I've got the one with the female, I think it's female warrior on the front.
Yeah, I had that one too. This was the disc washer version, which was I don't know. I always sort of suspected one of them was not legit.
Yeah, that's the one I have. Yeah, because they did that album. They recorded it direct to the master. They didn't.
Right. It was
go
done
to
direct to
tape.
disc.
Yeah. So.
And it was cut at Lacquer Channel. And who cut it?
Yeah.
I don't know the guys who cut it, but that's my favorite FM album. I mean, I like Black Noise.
I like Black Noise.
Black Noise is great, but this is a great album.
That's when Nasher / left. He left after Black Noise, and
this is their, to me, this is like the proggiest thing they did.
Oh yeah, it's two tracks each side.
Yeah, it's good. That's good.
Okay, yeah, I'll shut up again. Sorry.
That's what I got. So
sorry.
Pardon to the guy, and it's got those Singapore albums. So.
I don't have any Singapore albums in my album.
Yeah.
So I'm looking through my list, and I'm trying to see like what has not been, because a lot of the stuff that I had has already been mentioned, so I'm not going to bother with that. Zappa in New York has not been mentioned.
With leather.
Yeah. Kansas 2 for the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did. That would have, I made a decision not to put live albums. That would have been in my top 5 if I did that. Renaissance, a song for all seasons.
Yeah, I left that out.
Yeah.
Another great album
here. I'm amazed that Steven didn't include this, but Magnum, Kingdom of Madness.
Yeah.
Steven, what's wrong with you?
I have far too many things to mention here. We've already overrun.
And I understand it's 2 a.m. your time. I get it. I'll make this quick.
Sorry, Steven. I didn't mean to.
It's all your fault.
Carry on.
The first Spyro Gyra album. I like Spyro Gyra quite a bit. And what else? Pentwater, Out of the Abyss. Another pretty cool U.S. unknown prog album from that time period. I think everything else. Oh, Man for Man's Earth Band. Watch.
Oh, yes. Another very popular band at that time.
And here's one that nobody mentioned. And I'm not a huge fan, but it's Tormato. Not one person.
I was going to say that as an honorable mention, but
to be fair, even the band tomatoed their cover.
Nobody said Brand X Mask.
And that's a great album.
That is a great album, yeah.
But so people underestimate it because Phil Collins is not on it, but it's still just as good. As a matter of fact, I'd say that it's just as good as everything that came before it.
That's my favorite one of
the first Brand X album is like bloody hell. It's like killer, like all the way through.
They're all really good. Yeah.
But Mask, you gotta give Mask a listen. It's a great album.
Yeah.
Did you guys not like Tormato?
I
love it.
I like it. I don't love it.
I like it.
I honestly
That's
haven't
good
heard
stuff.
really much from it.
You know what it is?
so-
I didn't like Wakeman's choice of keyboards on that. He had this infatuation with the Birotron, which was this keyboard that kind of came and went, and it has kind of a weird sound.
The whole production of that album is a little weird to me.
A little
weird, but there's some good tunes on that album.
Was that the album they were going to work with Roy Thomas
album.
Baker?
Yeah.
They were
We're going to do the album with Roy Thomas Baker next.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. And then John Anderson didn't want to work with him because he said that this is what he said was that his production style was all the drums tracks sounded the same, all that, like, so he says, do you guys really want to do that? So they said, okay, we won't work with him, but they wanted to.
I never heard those demos. Were they any good? The Roy Thomas Baker demos?
There's 3 tracks on the Drama reissue.
Those are good. I heard those. Yeah. Those are good.
You could see why that the sessions were dissolved, because they were kind of they were really softy.
Well,
Uh-oh.
for what they were okay.
Heard that, George?
Hey,
One
Pete,
time I don't wear
I don't
my
have
shirt,
it with
right?
me, but you know what else was really good? The debut of National Health, which was also from 1978.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They're
Mhm.
both really good.
Yep.
Both great.
Both
yeah.
of them. Mhm.
Yep.
I'd have chosen National Health, but nobody sent me one, so
Oh, wow.
I don't have your address.
excuses.
Oh, man.
This is awesome.
Oh man.
First demon's gonna fall asleep, man. He's so tired.
We kept him up way past his bedtime tonight.
No,
so.
man.
My
All right.
apologies.
Well, there you have it, everybody. So 1978, this has been a lot of fun, kind of revisiting a great year in the history of music, and more importantly, a really strong year in the history of prog rock and fusion. So list your favorite 5 or 10 in the comments below. I'm sure there's some that we probably forgot, and that's okay, because not everybody can hear everything that's ever been released. So we will make sure probably tomorrow morning, everybody's going to send me their picks, so I will post them in the comments below for those of you who like to have the listing thing, so you can go out and buy all this stuff, right? Or at least check it out. So Ken, I'm sure a lot of these can be purchased directly from you. So what is your website, so everybody knows?
It's lasercd.com, lasercd.com. Thank you, Pete. And I have a lot of this stuff in stock. So have fun shopping.
There you go. Very cool. So thanks for watching, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, but more importantly, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Stay tuned. Coming up tomorrow morning, we've got the continuation of our October series, spooky albums for Halloween season. Tomorrow is also Monsters Den night. We will be live from Chris Allo's house tomorrow, talking about our favorite horror movies of all time, our top 10. I still don't have my list together yet, but because I've got like a list of 30, so I'm trying to whittle it down. So that's coming up tomorrow, Friday morning. Martin Popoff and I back in the fun house, and then we've got album homework assignment this Sunday, and that will be myself going up against Rick Luponte with Jamie Laszlo moderating. So that's coming up on Sunday. Of course, I will be on vacation next week, but you will have some pre-programmed stuff during the week. No In the Prog Seat next week, no Hudson Valley Squares, but we'll see everybody in 2 weeks with more Prog stuff. So thanks for watching. For Anthony Ferraro, Ken Golden, Stephen Reid, Eric Porter, Chuck Alvarez, Armando Venditti, Louis Nasser, and George Lamie, I am Pete Pardo. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.